To the outside world, Marie Osmond's life looked like a gleaming postcard of American perfection. The bright smile that never seemed to fade, the perfect family harmonies, the hit records, the variety show stages, the clean-cut image that made her a national sweetheart. She was the only girl among 9 Osmond children, the sparkling centerpiece of a Mormon entertainment empire that appeared to float above ordinary human struggle. Yet behind that polished surface lived a private history of fear, confusion, and a silence she carried alone for decades. That silence did not shatter with a dramatic public naming of any single person. Marie Osmond has never publicly identified the individual or individuals who sexually abused her as a child. What she has done, carefully and on her own terms, is refuse to let the trauma remain completely unspoken. In her memoir and later interviews, she finally described the shape of the wound, the lasting damage it inflicted, and the long road toward reclaiming her own story. That act of telling, without naming, still changed everything for her. Born Olive Marie Osmond on October 13, 1959, in Ogden, Utah, she entered a household that functioned more like a tightly disciplined performing unit than a conventional home. Her parents, George and Olive Osmond, poured every available resource into music lessons, vocal coaches, and instruments. Each child learned an instrument and then taught the others. Marie was assigned the marimba, an instrument she openly disliked, because personal preference rarely outweighed family obligation. Privacy was scarce. Quiet moments were rare. From earliest childhood, the expectation was clear: work hard, perform well, protect the family's public image at all costs. At only 4 years old, she made her television debut on *, the Andy Williams Show star. By the early 1970s, her brothers had become teen idols, and the same machine that had produced them turned its full attention to her. She later told Larry King that she once asked simply to go outside and play like other children. The answer was always the same: work came first. Recording sessions, rehearsals, and performances took priority over ordinary childhood. The pressure to remain the smiling, flawless Osmond girl never eased. When her mother encouraged a solo career, Marie chose country music rather than the pop and rock path her brothers followed. In 1973, the single Paper Roses soared to #1 on the country charts. Suddenly, she was no longer only one of the Osmonds. She was a star in her own right. Pairing with her brother Donnie produced more hits and, in 1975, the wildly popular * Donnie and Marie * variety series. The show turned the siblings into household names. Audiences saw sparkling costumes, perfectly timed smiles, and effortless chemistry. Behind the cameras, a different reality unfolded. Marie has spoken of constant insecurity. Standing beside glamorous guest stars such as Cher, Farrah Fawcett, Jaclyn Smith, and Raquel Welch left her feeling invisible and awkward. Older male guest stars sometimes behaved inappropriately. She later described one encounter with Groucho Marx as predatory. Television executives fixated on her weight even when she was already thin, weighing only around 103 pounds. One studio executive allegedly pulled her aside and told the teenage Marie she was embarrassing the family. The comments pushed her into dangerous restriction. She survived for days at a time on water mixed with lemon juice, cayenne pepper, and maple syrup, performing demanding dance numbers while weak from hunger. Child labor protections were far looser then. 20-hour days of scripts, choreography, and recording were common. The emotional toll accumulated quietly while the cameras kept rolling. Throughout those years, a deeper injury remained hidden. In her 2001 memoir * Behind the Smile, My Journey Out of Postpartum Depression *, Marie revealed that she had been sexually abused as a child and during her teenage years. She was clear about certain boundaries. The abusers were not relatives, not long-term friends, and not people with ongoing professional ties to her career. The incidents occurred in places and around people her parents trusted, during periods when it was assumed she was safe. She was threatened into silence and made to believe that speaking would destroy her family and everything they had built. For years she carried the secret alone. Even her brothers did not know until much later, after she herself became a mother and found the strength to tell them. The effects were profound and lasting. She associated men with fear and discomfort. Around the age of 8 or 9, she briefly believed she might be gay, not from authentic attraction but from trauma-driven revulsion toward males. Body image struggles intensified. She questioned her own identity and worth. In a 2019 appearance on * The Talk *, she revisited the subject while discussing broader cultural conversations about sexuality and trauma. She explained that the loving presence of her father and brothers eventually helped rebuild her trust in men and clarified that the earlier confusion had been a reaction to abuse rather than a true orientation. She has never named the perpetrators. In later interviews she noted that the people responsible were no longer alive. The details of the acts themselves, she has said, matter less than the enduring damage trauma leaves on the spirit and on the ability to function day to day. That decision to speak without naming was itself a turning point. For a generation raised to treat such subjects as unmentionable, silence had been the expected response. Shame and fear of hurting loved ones kept many survivors quiet. Marie's choice to place the reality of her experience on the public record, while still protecting the privacy of the dead and the living, gave language to something that had lived only as private pain. It allowed her to begin separating the abuse from her own sense of self. Being victimized, she came to understand, did not mean she had done something wrong. That realization, simple as it sounds, took years to settle into her bones. Her personal life reflected both the search for stability and the lingering effects of early trauma. In 1979, at 20, she became engaged to acting student Jeff Clayton. The relationship ended after only 2 months. She later dated high-profile figures including Eric Estrada and Andy Gibb. In 1982, she married basketball player Stephen Lyle Craig. Their son Stephen was born the following year, but the marriage dissolved in 1985. Almost exactly a year later, she married record producer Brian Blozell at the Jordan River Temple. Together they built a large family of 7 children, 2 biological and 5 adopted. From the outside it looked as though she had finally achieved the balance she had always wanted. Inside, however, another storm was gathering. After one of her pregnancies, Marie experienced far more than ordinary exhaustion. Overwhelming sadness, severe physical fatigue, and frightening episodes of uncontrollable shaking led to a diagnosis of postpartum depression. She later described moments of complete collapse, including an impulsive drive that lasted hours with no clear destination. Her body locked into painful muscle spasms that sometimes left her unable to get out of bed. In asterisk behind the smile asterisk, she chronicled the breakdown as the result of a perfect storm. Non-stop work obligations, the demands of motherhood, and years of ignoring her own limits. Doctors had warned her to slow down. She pushed forward anyway, convinced she could handle everything alone. Eventually the pressure caught up with her in devastating fashion. She recalled collapsing on her kitchen floor in tears, unable to reconcile the polished television personality the world knew with a woman privately unraveling behind closed doors. Professionally, the 1990s brought further challenges. Country music shifted toward a grittier style that left her wholesome image feeling increasingly out of step. Hits stopped coming. She reunited with Donnie for a daytime talk show in 1998, but the old chemistry proved harder to recapture. Arguments between the siblings became so frequent that producers had to mediate. The show lasted only 2 seasons. Later attempts at reinvention, a radio program, a Hallmark variety series, met mixed results. In 2007 she competed on Asterisk Dancing with the Stars asterisk, finishing 3rd and losing nearly 50 pounds through disciplined training rather than the starvation of her teenage years. Heart disease ran in her family. This time the motivation was health rather than industry cruelty. In 2009 she publicly supported her daughter Jessica after Jessica came out as lesbian, a stance that surprised some given Marie's religious background. That same year a long professional partnership with manager Carl Engman ended in bitter legal conflict. Hospitalization in 2006 sparked false rumors of a suicide attempt. She and her team clarified that a severe medication reaction was the cause. Through every public storm she continued to speak, when she chose, about the private wounds that had shaped her. By the time she joined Asterisk the Talk Asterisk as a permanent co-host in 2019, Marie had spent a lifetime learning how to carry both the spotlight and the shadow. During one emotional episode she recounted a near-fatal car accident at 16 in which she blacked out behind the wheel, nearly lost an eye, and watched her mother sustain catastrophic injuries. The guilt was overwhelming. In the hospital she experienced what she described as a spiritual vision involving her grandfather that brought unexpected peace and the conviction that her mother would survive. The moment deepened her faith and altered the way she viewed life, death, and the possibility of an afterlife. She left Asterisk the Talk Asterisk after 1 season, citing the desire for more time with her husband, children, and grandchildren after decades of non-stop work. Rumors of behind-the-scenes tension circulated, but she maintained that family priorities had finally taken precedence. The decision marked another quiet assertion of agency, the right to step back, to choose presence over performance, to protect the life she had fought so hard to rebuild. Marie Osmond's story is not the tale of a sudden public unmasking of a named villain. It is the slower, quieter story of a woman who spent decades surviving, performing, mothering, and slowly reclaiming the right to name the shape of her own pain without handing the public every detail. By placing the reality of childhood sexual abuse into her published memoir and later interviews, She broke a silence that had once felt absolute. She made clear that the abusers were